Hi there! Glad you show interest in this video. It introduces a book that attempts to appeal to people who long for better overall. Its writer, Matthias Cleiren, a peace-loving, rather rhetoric warrior, is deprived of a revealing lucid spark for this manuscript. He admits the real trigger was far less flashy, just blunt annoyance.
Rumors about conspiracies fill the echo rooms with hysteria and testify to the pandemic and infodemic splurges on the internet. These fabrications of that bipolar thinking syndrome transform calamity fiction into reality and catalyze a combative spirit against even the whisper of an alleged enemy.
Orson Welles' radio play War of the Worlds became another terrifying reality in 1938. A mass actually fled for a Martian invasion. Attack or flee? Only two options? Corona here and now with its hoarding hordes for toilet paper may have shown a third one. As if the urge for sanitary stops forced them to sit on it.
This is still soft and innocent, but watch out for cruelty in such circumstances. Flagellants chastise themselves for all sins in order to banish God's curse, the Black Plague. Pussies compared to those who targeted the usual scapegoat. Those with their combative spirit and overdrive burned tens of thousands of innocent Jewish men, women, and children all over the world, long before the Holocaust.
It's always easy to talk afterwards, but with less bias and superstition, more questioning, and the more human wisdom of multicultural interest, one could have concluded opposite. The superior Jewish hygiene of that time probably reduced the number of casualties in their midst. Did we really come along well already?
All this hysteria has one common denominator: the lack of reason to properly grasp reality. And just to make matters gladly worse, annoyance gets stopped by old-school narcissistic macho rulers. They think they are the revelation of this young century, while I wonder, which long past century are they coming from? Their rusted, conflicting but oh so important economical and political interests obstruct the overall benefit, such as climate. Who votes for such leaders? Maybe those who want to return to faded glory because their image of the past is a fairy tale version, or rather those who may long for a glorious fairy tale version of the future. Neither of them escapes the same mental shortcut: absolutization.
Quite apparent that both sources of annoyance have a toxic relationship. They fertilize and further polarize each other. This may bring extremisms closer and faster to your doorstep than expected. Well, the media brings them already into your living room and stick to the skin of the sensitive. Many others feel comfortable with these developments, and that scares me. With this in mind, it is hard to find the reasons for laughter. I wish I could start with a joke, but it was this worrying initiator that triggered what follows. Well then, let's get this triggering shit first, and a whole video thereafter to help digest it.
So no joy dance yet, but some progress with my next step: a more constructive translation of this annoyance with concern and care. Because pessimism doesn't allow you to put one step forward. I wish these people were and did better. Not perfect, because to agree on a perfect world is way too stretchy, and I'm a happy man already. To agree on better is challenging enough.
Better, good or bad? Ethics in general is often seen as trivial, outdated and boring. It is also enormously susceptible to interpretation, and preferably put aside not to intervene unsolicited with our daily pleasures. Boring could be your first judgmental reaction too, but hasn't Harari in another dull area helped many of us discover how exciting age-old history can be?
Morality is more fundamental than you might think. Voting for Democrats or Republicans in the US, or the choice of policymakers for a free market instead of a state-run economy, are these pure political and economical decisions? Not completely, I think. Imagine you would have to respond to the repetitive whys of a very curious child on these themes. Your choice, which is drilled down finally, turns out in an ethical one, the values that count the most for you.
Decisions are made in given circumstances. Circumstances change with time, so your decision could and preferably should change too if conditions require you to. But your conscience, your value tree, if well considered, will not change that easily. Ethics, your values, is kind of the mother of all judgmental thoughts and its consequential choices. It defines somehow who you are and what you will become.
With morality, one often thinks of whims, but also in the name of an ideology, a so-called higher good. The most horrifying mass murders were committed. Just think of Nazism, that wanted to create a super race through forced selection and elimination. The Holocaust. This was their aim for a better world, cited from a one-sided interpretation of an aspect of Darwinism, survival of the fittest. So watch out for ideologists. Seemingly subtle differences can have radical consequences. Any thought or moral likely becomes problematic when people make it unquestionable.
I still have plenty of questions, like do you have children? Grandchildren? Maybe not yet, but to those who have, are they of any importance to you? More than anything will be a repetitive response. Why spend time now and words on such a matter of course?
Obviously, other needs matter too and are often more exciting. There are plenty escape routes to bypass this heavy subject, and that is fine, even necessary for some likeness of being. Likewise, I believe many don't realize endeavors for a better world can be fucking fun too, and even more than that, they can be life-fulfilling.
Conscience and values are not unimportant, since they belong to the mechanisms that steer our behavior and are challenged by kind of instinctive reactions in conditions of extreme stress or fear, as in war or deprivations in general. Old traditions, mostly monotheistic, make it seemingly simple for them and their believers by reference to their holy book as exclusive source for guidance in day-to-day choices. Their degree of success is not impeccable. Conflict and war withstood the test of time, not seldom waged in the name of a god or what a religion believed he stood for. What about other controversies men cause and where old reference stories do not have an immediate answer, such as disrespectful treatment of animals and nature?
In several monotheistic religions, only men are made in God's image, and everything else is relegated to oblivion or has to serve and be molded by human hand. What about modern, far-reaching manipulations where men play God, such as genetics, gender change, artificial intelligence, or nuclear fusion?
In Western society, these holy reference books' influence fades, likely because of its irrelevance on modern developments. So, less Bible or Quran reading at night that provides assurance you belong to the good herd. Rather the smartphone or PC instead. And for more than a few, check the internet for like-minded messages, confirming the safe harbor of their cocoon. Some will focus on the outside, scan the horizon in search for the threat of an opponent. Why? In this absolutization process, on the backside of the coin, as a matter of balance, you will polarize and nourish your fear or hate for an assumed enemy simultaneously. These militants already hear the war drums roar and will echo them with a like. They all wallow, unaware and satisfied in their degenerate role as product of social media. Thanks to this tool on internet, the destroying fire of genocide is ignited, like recently in Myanmar or Ethiopia. or the rising tension that is built between Hindus and Muslims in India, with foothills in the UK even. Hate campaigns can deploy like pandemics, not seldom orchestrated by rulers. We have to realize that word communication, a fortiori on the internet, is not just informative, it's a powerful tool too, because it's a widely spread carrier of ideas. And wherever there is manifestation of power, abuse lies in the shadows on the verge of striking.
So absolutizing religion doesn't do it anymore for the majority of Westerners, and is here and there already replaced by absolutizing echo rooms on the internet, but still often with reference to a stripped God of their convenience. It's a God-given right to carry a gun, or God gave us this land. I think Western moral sense is often a patchwork, without nuance and shaky like the quicksand that eventually leads us to the depths of this bipolar thinking syndrome. Like or hate, a divine messiah or something evil to be beaten. It exhibits a sometimes desperate search for an absolute, unquestionable foothold. Why? Perhaps because of frustration, combined with fear for change to what constitutes their identity in their belief. It may trigger a somewhat sophisticated survival modus with its own truth fabrication as protection and defense mechanism through repetition and consent of the like-minded. Somehow, we all may do that, but as in other mental dysfunctions, it's a matter of degree. Too often, the need to believe shows stronger than the truth itself. Call it truth decay.
Is this perhaps one of the reasons why a relatively small minority of extremists will call the shots at some point in turbulent times? Jacobins during the French Revolution, Bolsheviks in the October Revolution of Russia, and perhaps also ISIS during the Arab Spring. Internet reflects such tendencies because a viewpoint there regarding disputable topics with the richness of nuance and the purity of veracity is not always easy to find. It can feel like encountering that needle in a haystack.
There are different ways to make a better world of it, but unfortunately, better does not know a clear consensus. Unanimity here will never be complete, nor will it know a forever and always. But it can be built to a meaningful label. How? History shows plenty, with ingredients that are bonding, that build a common denominator such as logic, rational, and faith that is shared. Even if a solid consensus could be built around major topics, what can a small mortal do? The average, well-meant contribution often seems negligible.
Or worse, what should a wandering weirdo endeavor here? A stray, immature moral knight who attempted a whole lifetime to identify what really matters, not in a pure esoteric or religious sense, but also respecting the principles of likeliness and logic, even with links to science and by means of kind of meditative thinking. Sure, it does not fully escape belief and may look a bit eclectic, but in an unlikely, more or less yes, is this what's worth to believe in, and why?
Maybe just testify to these thoughts, because what if there are more wandering ones? Maybe just share, and maximize the sharing in an attempt to reach as many fellow men as possible who sense something similar, who are in search for some deepening meaning. One small contribution, sufficiently spread and multiplied, can make a difference. The difference of leverage for a better world. Yes, but it's about one's most fundamental thoughts and beliefs, and it feels a bit scary to bring it out. But what's wrong with trying? Not being taken seriously is for sure a risk. It's almost like a village idiot who feels the inhabitants count and their mocking increase, but here caused by his own broadcast. On the other hand, and likely the other portion of the village, showing vulnerability may be appreciated as kind of sympathetic low-profile courage. No?
This book touches a lot of issues, such as winning or losing, the search for truth besides the many guises of a lie, suffering and negativity, man and nature, politics, economy, justice, physical and mental health. Way too much. A deluge of topics indeed. What I often miss in what is offered is the helicopter view, the intersectional bundling of thoughts. As was said, ethics is the mother of judgmental thoughts. So she's in that helicopter already.
Tradition and heritage are a lot of welcome food for thought in this attempt, and a lot of references are made to them. But each apart does not fully still the hunger. The satisfying cocktail may require some spices from different, unexpected angles and areas. A dose of imagination infiltrated my thinking process about an apparent age experience. The certainty or doubt you can feel about a thought and the dynamic between both. Certainty and doubt are extrapolated to the extremes of being on one hand and awareness on the other. These may root up to the very origin of existence and the very nature of awareness.
From this basis, an umbrella concept is deployed, embracing the broad meaning of one word, congruence, where the bells of agreement, balance, consonance, correspondence and harmony ring. A moral compass that celebrates the diversity, complexity and inclusiveness of our existence, but that still knows threats to be dealt with. It won't tell you what exactly you will have to do, but indicate what in this opinion belongs to a better world and what not. This book does not want you to feel bad. It wants you to feel fine with the potential you represent and the progress you can make with it. Just go for it, in small and big things, at your own pace. But we have to be fair about a few urgencies here and there.
The content of the book is the what. The book as medium, as well as the coming podcasts and lectures are the how. And besides this introduction, the book itself will also tell you something about the why of it. The aim for better overall. Its title, In the Tangle of Existence, Awareness is Born, No Gems. Hope to have tickled your curiosity, because who knows how it goes with books and movements.